Do you have someone in your life that's bossy, aggressive, demanding? Things aren't always as they appear. I want to help you communicate effectively with that person today. Welcome back to the Help for Leaders podcast. I'm Stacey Harris. Before we jump in, I'd love for you to click here to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, click that bell so you're notified each week when we post new content. Today, we're going to talk about human behavior. DISC is an observable language. We literally walk around every single day with our DISC graphs kind of stamped on us. It's observable. It's neutral. I want to help you be able to people read and be able to communicate effectively with that dominant style. So let's think of someone that we all know very well. Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a significant other, maybe it's a child, maybe it's your manager, maybe it's a coworker. And sometimes they appear to be bossy, aggressive, assertive. I want to tell you about that style, and maybe you are that style. I want to actually give you some tips of how to actually communicate in a way where others perceive you differently, because I know our self-perception and other people's perception of us isn't always the same. And so I want to talk about perception as well. So first of all, let's just do some people reading. Again, think about that person you know really well and see if some of this applies. Okay, are they focused on tasks? Are they just all about getting things done? And also, they're kind of doing a lot of telling. They like to just tell you what to do, tell you how to do it, tell you all the things. Those are two kind of telltale signs of dominant behavior. They're task focused, they're assertive, and they're doing a lot of telling. You know, there's some people that do a lot of asking and some people that do all the telling. And so D's and I's are typically doing more of the telling. S's and C styles, more of the asking. The D's and C's are more focused on tasks. The I's and S's more relational. But we're focusing right now just on the D's. So they're doing the telling. They're all about tasks. They're assertive. They're fast-paced. They want results. And so they're moving really quickly as well. Physically, moving quickly, even the way they communicate, and then the way they lead meetings, the way they want you to communicate back to them is very quickly. And so they don't always give space or time for you to process information and think through things. Some of the emotions even that you might see with that person is anger or frustration. Their fuse is just really short. So if you feel that frustration when they're not getting the results, when things aren't going the way they want them to, they're most likely that dominant style. So some of the words that we use to describe dominance are direct, decisive. They're dominant, obviously. We also like to use the word doer. They're the doers. They're getting things done, but they can be perceived as demanding, as bossy, as aggressive when they're overusing their style or when they're stressed or fatigued. Sometimes they're perceived as dominating or domineering or demanding. That's not always the way they want to present themselves. Stress causes us to move into those unhealthy, unproductive ways of communication, and stress is at an all-time high. And so I want you to be aware that sometimes they maybe think they're just being decisive and direct and getting things done, but you're receiving them differently. So how do you pause and communicate with that person that's maybe getting frustrated? They're showing some anger. Things are kind of heightening. They're not getting the results that they want to get. And so that's really what I want you to know about that person. They love a challenge. They actually thrive in those kinds of environments. It's their opportunity to shine. They love taking risks. They love solving problems. It's an opportunity to step in and lead and direct because that's just how they're wired. And so if that person is in your life and they're not coming across in all those positive attributes of leading and getting things done and being decisive and focused on results, and you're receiving them more in that bossy, aggressive, demanding way, Here are some things that you can do to actually pause. So we've people read, right? We've done the people reading. We know, okay, this is high D behavior. So now what? What do I do as an individual? First of all, you need to be direct in the way you communicate with them. Take your emotion and pause. Don't get angry, because that's just going to go head to head with them and it's just going to heighten that emotion. So be direct, be specific, get to the point quickly. When you go on and on and on about details and all these things, they are trying to get to the bottom line. They're trying to see the solution. And when you muddy the waters, it gets really confusing for that high D person. So if you can be thoughtful before you have that conversation, maybe you're going to be sitting down with a team member or your manager, actually think through what you're going to say. How can I be direct, stick to business, get to the point quickly? One of the mental things that I do is I actually tell myself bullet points. Think in bullets. Don't fill in all the details and go on tangents and little rabbit trails. Stick specifically to business. Find out where you're going. Start there and then fill in a few details if needed. So move quickly, speak quickly, get to the point, stick to business, and don't get into an argument with that high D style, because they are going to win. They like to win. They're competitive people. And so the way you can communicate effectively is to be specific, clear, to the point. And also, I want you just to be prepared. Think through the process and come prepared. Don't be late to a meeting. Don't be disorganized. Don't have, I need to get back to you. Come prepared with answers, because they like solutions. They like results. So I hope this has been helpful in your people reading. Remember, they're task focused. They're usually doing all the telling. If you're being perceived as bossy and aggressive, that's a good time for you to pause, step back, and start listening. Listen to how many times you actually tell rather than ask. I would actually love to challenge you. And I can say that word challenge to you Ds because you rise to a challenge. So if you are a D listening to this, I would really love to challenge you to take 30 minutes out of your day, set a timer, and every time you're interacting with someone, rephrase the statement into a statement instead of into a command. It's challenging for the high D who likes to tell. Maybe it's even in your home. Instead of telling, rephrase that statement so that it's more of a question, so that you're asking for information, and then pause and be open to listening to the input. I'd love to hear in the comments how that works for you. So let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Join me next week because we're going to talk about that high I outgoing style, how to people read, and how to communicate effectively with that style. If you enjoyed this episode and would like more information on emotional intelligence, behavioral styles, or communication, I'd love for you to click here to watch more episodes. And we'd also love for you to click here to subscribe so you're notified each week when we post more content.